briefly, if you have zero to little knowledge about the caste system, in 3 seconds, it is the world's longest living social hierarchy. And as we know, any hierarchical pattern in the world is irrational. So I would call the caste system as the world's most irrational practice of social hierarchy. So Dalit communities are the outcast communities within that social hierarchy. And there are three dominant caste identities. And then you have a low caste identity. And then you have the Dalit, who are today, even today, treated as the outcasts, as the socially ostracized in India today. So that is a little gist for you. So historically speaking, Dalits have always been marginalized, treated as the different other who deserved no opportunities, no privileges, no place in society, and denial of basic human rights. And that strain of thought continues today. So Dalit communities continue to experience violence rooted in cultural stigmatizations, and it is definitely being fueled by caste-based communities. And in the first documentation of violence against Dalit communities published by Human Rights Watch in 1999, researcher Smita Narula says, more than 160 million people in the world's largest democracy remain at the risk of systematic human rights violations. Systematic, and it is structural, right? And so under that violation, Dalit women specifically experience the most violence. And today, even though we have so many Dalit participation in politics, in academics, in nonprofit organizations, as you will hear from our eminent leaders today as well, even though there is so much of Dalit representation and Dalit voice, the more Dalits are speaking up and fighting for their rights, the more the backlash that Dalit communities are receiving today. Scholar Gail Omwait in 1994 wrote that Dalit movements will have an inherent interest in moving in a radical direction. And she's right in saying that. And she also said that Dalits will have to confront the entire oppressive system that comprises of the lower caste and the dominant caste. So the time has definitely come for that. We as Dalit communities in India and abroad, our leaders, scholars, students, right? We are looking to this audience today for allyship and action-oriented support as unfounded allegations and atrocities are committed against Dalits as punishments for transgressions. I'm going to identify 5 areas of those transgressions. One, in the eyes of the Indian government today, these are the transgressions, right? One is conversion out of Hinduism as a Hindu Dalit to any other religion, especially Christianity and Islam. So Christians, especially Christian and Muslim Dalits, and Muslims on the entirety are branded as traitors. And the second sphere of this transgression that they're identifying is in education. If you're an educated Dalit or seeking education or receiving education, that is seen as a crime. An educated Dalit is a criminal in the eyes of education institutions today, and that is structural, systemic violence that is being perpetrated on Dalits today. And so, therefore, Dalits pursuing educations are punished because they are transgressing into a forbidden space. Number 3, if you are a Dalit organization helping Dalit children, securing education and jobs, in the past few years, they have been heavily scrutinized under the current government and punished by closing down the organizations, closing down schools that are catering primarily to Dalit children, bringing in FCRA regulations, making life and operation difficult for Dalit-based nonprofit organizations. So a lot of false allegations and more. And the fourth category of transgression that is punishable today is intercaste marriages. Love jihad is an example of interreligious marriages and punishment, and intercaste marriages are punished by beheadings, rape, and other forms of physical violence. The fifth area of transgression is Dalit women who are rising strong. So they are being punished, right? So Dalit women's leadership or any kind of Dalit leadership in itself is punishable today because you are not supposed to be the outspoken, confident leader and agent of social change. That is your forbidden arena, right? So therefore, those leaders are punishable by rape, by death, emotional and psychological abuse, by withholding economic resources for you. So where their confidence is seen as transgressing their gendered space defined by caste boundaries as well. Some examples are the quota or the reservation system is similar to the affirmative action in the US. So unlike the US, where fixing quota or sort of like avoiding this kind of, preference to certain racial and ethnic groups, in India, a certain percentage of seats are reserved in government-run institutions and other backward, castes. But since caste is adopted as a basis for implementing affirmative action policies, and therefore caste has been the basis for discrimination, exclusion, humiliation historically in India, now they have been designated as historically disadvantaged social groups, and therefore the advantaged social groups are being threatened by the presence of Dalits in educational spaces, and therefore the bullying, the suicide rates are increasing because of the bullying that Dalit students are experiencing. And as Dr. Thorat points out as well, and according to the National Crime Records Bureau, every 11 minutes, a crime was reported against a Dalit, especially Dalit young student, ranging from rape and beatings and ending up in suicide. So allegations of discrimination, humiliation, exclusion, all these are denied by higher education institutions as unproven. They are treating these as isolated incidents, saying that the students didn't have the capacity to deal with a change in environment, with a sudden change in environment. So the Thorat committee was set up in 2007 following grave and widespread allegations, right, of all these kinds of differential treatments that Dalit students are being subject to today. And secondly, we look at the judicial system, which is failing in the intercaste marriage sector, because it is a basic human right to choose, to have the right of choice in marriage, especially in the face of a modern equitable law, right? So therefore, the Indian government is totally failing its citizens in letting go, in not even like punishing, and not even filing an FIR in most cases of intercaste-based violence. And therefore, we see this as a violation of a fundamental human right. So it is guaranteed by most human rights institutions, and therefore provisions of the Indian Constitution are being ignored here. So therefore, we can make a case definitely today to say that we need to step up to stop this mindless violence that is being perpetrated upon Dalit communities as persecution just because we are Dalit. Thank you.